Welcome back to another episode of iSober. Before we get started, I do want to go ahead and share something important. In recovery, service work is a vital part of staying sober and getting back. My podcast is my way of being of service to others by creating a platform where people can share their stories, experience strength, and hope. My goal is to help others carry a message of recovery to alcoholics and addicts who may still be suffering. Everything discussed on my podcast is based on my personal experiences, opinions, and lessons I've learned through my recovery journey. I'm just another person recovering and trying to help where I can. This podcast is not about fame, recognition, or personal gain. My purpose is simple. If one alcoholic or addict hears something to help them find hope, ask for help, or take the first step towards recovery, then this podcast has done its job. Whether you're newly sober, coming back from a relapse, struggling with addiction, or supporting someone you love, you're welcome here. This is a safe space for conversation, real stories, and recovery. Today we have Andrew here joining us on the studio, and he's going to go ahead and start with his testimony.
Okay, my name's Andrew, and I'm a recovering addict. Okay, I'll start off with my childhood. I had a good childhood. I had a good Christian mom and dad that sent me to private schools and stuff like that.
Where are you from, Andrew?
Oh, I'm from Oklahoma City.
So you've always been around this area?
Yes, southeast side of Oklahoma City. Yes, sir. And I went to like City Christian Academy, Love Academy schools, and was raised in church. And I had an older brother that was all strung out on heroin and cocaine and stuff like that. Well, he's the one that first introduced me to weed when I was about 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
And then when I turned about 15, 16 years old, I was over at his house, and he told me, "I'm going to show you what a real high is." And he shot me up with 10 units of heroin.
And how old were you at this point?
I was about 15.
Wow, that is incredibly young to be doing something like that.
Yeah, it was. And I fell in love with that. I nodded off and puking and all that. But after that, I really...
Off to the races.
Off to the races, yes, sir. And from there, I escalated to doing P2P dope, which was meth, and then speedballing, it was heroin. That was in that we're talking early 80s. And yeah, and then I started stealing from my mom and dad to supply my habit, and started breaking into homes. And I remember a lot of times my mother, she'd think I was asleep because I didn't want her to know I was high, but she knew, and she'd be kneeling at the foot of my bed praying for me. And that, I didn't think about her feelings or nothing like that. I just wanted to get high, type deal.
Selfish addicts, huh?
Yeah,
I get that.
Yes, sir. And and then it escalated to I finally started getting in trouble with the law. Started going in and out of jail. When I hit 18, I went to prison for the first time. And it broke my family's heart. But they were still there for me.
And are you middle child, oldest?
I'm the
not
baby.
Oldest. So okay. So
it's
just you and your brother as siblings?
No, I got 6 other brothers.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I guess if you want to call black sheep, me and him was the black sheep of the family. But we had a loving mom and dad, that just wanted us.
They saw you all the same.
Yeah. And anyway, and when you can hit rock bottom, I've done a lot of time in penitentiaries. But anyway, when I got about 20 years old, I finally done my first overdose, and it was of heroin. They took me to Hillcrest Hospital back then. We had a Hillcrest. It was over on South Penn in Oklahoma City. And I remember my mother being there when I finally come to and realized what was going on. Here's so crazy about addiction. She was crying because I come close to death then, and all I wanted to do was go get some more of that stuff. That's the same stuff that almost killed me. That's all was on my mind. I even left the hospital, and I wasn't supposed to. And that nervous feeling that you get, trying to escape the nurses and pulling out the IVs and the buzzers going off, heading toward the door. It's a crazy feeling. All you're focused on is that dope. And, and I love my mom and dad. And you just don't think about their feelings or nothing, or it's just,
You don't
it hurts.
realize the depth of the hurt we're putting, the victim's impact we are setting upon them. I mean, you're very right about that.
Yes. And that's how I lived my life for 38 years, just in institutions, prisons. I mean, and it was the only two choices were left, is either sober up and, or be dead. And I come close to death a few times because I've overdosed 4 times in the drug addiction. And as far as hitting rock bottom, I lived, some people don't get it. Some people can live on rock bottom. I did for a lot of years, lived on it, okay with it, and that's another sick part of it. But then I started losing everybody, my mom and dad, because all my brothers are passed on, and I couldn't go out to my brothers because I stole from them, they wouldn't let me on their property. And what's sad, all this guilt and all the things that you tore up in your past, see, I never got to make an amends to my mom, dad, or none of my siblings or any of that, my wife, any of that. I destroyed everything. And that's put suicide thoughts in my head, because I destroyed everything. I thought I had nothing left, and had a daughter, and I had 2 sons with my first wife, and I haven't seen them even yet today, and they would be like 36, 35. And here 2 years ago, I did receive a phone call from my ex-wife and telling me that my oldest son passed on with a brain aneurysm.
Sorry to hear that.
And I was in a program, staying clean when I heard this. I was in drug court, and it kind of threw me off and caused me to relapse, but I got back on track. But anyway, I'm going to rewind a little bit. Where I found, I was trying to, when this is last deal, I was out of prison at Wagon Hut for maybe 2 months.
And you're around 20 some around this.
No, I'm 53 at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, in between that it's been either doing drugs, prison, since I was 18 years old, I got 27 years in prison, in and out.
Oh wow!
So that's
I didn't know that.
About a little over half.
So you're just repeating the same vicious cycle over and over. Okay.
Yep.
And this is just still heroin in the
no
picture,
meth,
or you're doing meth?
Yeah, meth now. Then it switched over to fentanyl.
Okay.
Yeah, and even in prison, I was getting all kinds of drugs because I was doing a lot of tattoos, and I had drugs lit under my door. I mean, I didn't even escape it there. And I remember going on the Greyhound when I got out of Wagon Hut. As soon as we got off in Oklahoma City and got off the Greyhound bus, I have nobody, no one, $50 in my pocket. And I didn't even make it 2 blocks down the road, and I found dope.
It is crazy how it works.
Yeah.
I've had a similar experience where I'm trying to stay clean, and I'm talking, you drive down the road and somebody offers it to a complete stranger at that. It's weird how it works. People don't believe it, but I swear it's crazy.
Yes, sir. Well, anyway, I started running and gunning again, and there was a salvage yard over there off of Agnew and 10th. Well, I wound up breaking into it to get some more dope money and stuff like that. Well, the cops got me, was waiting up on the hill, and I'd already been up maybe 8 or 9 days. And I said, man, I'm not going back to prison. So I was going to really try to go out by cop. And there's where God intervenes, and I didn't even realize it. I went to go out by cop, so I took off on the cop. Well, they hit me with the taser, took me down and all that, and took me to the hospital, checked me out, then took me to jail. And they put me on suicide watch. And if anybody don't know what they do on suicide watch, they strip you where you ain't got no clothes, butt naked, no mats, no nothing, not a fork, only got to eat with your fingers, all that.
And you're under surveillance the whole time now.
The whole, yep.
Okay.
And in my case, I had a guard by myself watching, speaking, checking on me. And, well, I won't never forget, Miss Madison come and interviewed me for drug court. And she come up there and she seen me, and I'm all tatted up, and I got these words lost soul above my eyebrows here. And she asked me, do you believe you're a lost soul? And I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And she goes, and she told me after that, God loves you. And I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't say nothing to that. And she goes, I'll be back to see you. So she left.
She saw the sparkle in your eye.
And, and I still didn't know, and about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I can't remember exactly how long it was, but she had me in front of Judge Kenneth Stoner. And, when you go up in front of the judge, you got the DA on one side and your attorney on the other side. And the first thing that man did was reach up and fist bump me. And I was thinking in my head, what the hell's going on? I never had a judge fist bump me before. It kind of freaked me out. And that was where God intervened and put people in my life so I could make a change. I still didn't realize it at that time. It took me a while.
Well, I mean, from the cycle of being in and out of prison, all you've known is a certain type, I guess I would say. So I could see why it's a little off-putting at first to let someone, in like that, to be trusted.
Yeah.
To trust someone that way, I should say.
Yeah. And from there, I really wanted to change. And, they took me to the hub, got me my phone, got me on some food stamps, got me some clothes, and paid for my sober living. And with the sober living, well, I made it about the sober living maybe for about 3 or 4 months. I wound up relapsing, taking off from the sober living house. And from that just little bit of time of sobriety and the people that cared and was loving on me and, trying to really help me, my conscience, I guess, or God, whatever you want to call it, I was battling, it was really bothering me. So, so I called Brent up. I said, Brent, man, I'm sorry that I went AWOL, but man, I'm just sitting there fighting. I don't know what to do here. And he said, where are you at? So he come and got me and we went in front of Judge Stoner. He already had a warrant out for me, but he dropped the warrant, put me right back in sober living house. And I started going to my classes and doing all that. Well, it lasted probably another 2 months and I took off again. I'd done that 3 times and never seen a day in jail because I guess Judge Stoner seen something in me. And this last time, he says, when you're done trying it your way, let's try it my way. Are you done trying it your way? And I said, yes, Judge, I'm really done trying it my way.
That was your breaking point.
Yeah, that was my breaking point. And he sent me to Monarch. And Judge Stoner asked me, would you promise me one thing? And I said, yes, sir. He said, just give it your all. Give it 100. Really try. And so I went to Monarch for 60 days. And they educate you. It's a rehab, but it educates you what the drugs does, how it affects, you constantly doing paperwork on it. You actually physically learn. And I stayed clean for a little over 2 years.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And getting all kinds of awards and, sponsoring people and doing all kinds of things. I still learning in recovery because I didn't know what complacent meant at that time. And I didn't even know, never even heard of the word. And I got really comfortable. I got this, had a job, even buying me a home, had my truck paid for and buying a home. And so I quit going to meetings. And, things started happening little by little. And I started hanging around with the wrong people again. And one of them was a female. And I relapsed. But here's the kicker. After I'd done that, I stayed high for maybe 3 days. And the kicker was, I knew how to fix it because of what I learned.
So, I do like that because you know what? A lot of people will say once you relapse, everything goes out the window, but that knowledge stays there.
The knowledge stays there.
You still have all the tools you gathered to help you with that.
Yes, sir.
So that's very true.
Yes, sir. And from there, because the judge was trying to, because I was honest with him and he just trying to give me sanctions, no prison sanctions or nothing like it. But I told him, Judge Stoner, I said, I really need to go to treatment. I said, if you let me just do this shine for 2 days, I'm going to spiral. I really, I need this. And he said, okay. And Brent spoke. I said, well, let's take him to first step. I said, okay, that sounds good. We'll go tomorrow. And Brent said, I said, all right. But this is just the funny part. They didn't tell me it was a 6-month program out here. And Brent takes me out here. And after we get out here, I asked how long do I got to be here? And I was just thinking like 30 days, because I was still in my mixed motions, still coming down and stuff. And he said 6 months, boy, I blew a head gasket.
Mm-hmm.
But Brent, I'm glad I had Brent as my mentor because he knew how to deal with me. And now I'm working on I'm been at First Step now at 9 months, and I love it here. I love the people here. They're really about the recovery. You learn a work ethic because some guys out there don't even got to know how to work. All they do know is out there in the street hustle.
They give that structure.
Yeah,
we lack.
Yeah, and that's a fact, and they do. And it's got me where I don't even want to leave here. I've got a bond here now, and now Judge Stoner. I learned this. It's called give back. You got to help your community. You got to help people. That heals you. It really does. And there's things that I learned that didn't make sense to me, but after I started doing them, it makes sense. And it puts a piece at you. Now, I know all the destruction I've done with my mom, and I made amends to them, even though they passed on. But I know they're seeing me down now. I'm proud because I remember when my mom died, we was at the funeral at the Victory Baptist Church, and Pastor Ray Breeden, before she died, she talked about she just wanted her sons to get right. And here's another sad kicker I didn't mention. After the funeral, I didn't go to her graveside. I took off and went and done a bunch of cocaine, and I had to live with that too. See, that's where the devil works. I think that's the devil's biggest thing is drugs, because when you do build 38 years of destruction with people that you love and that you hurt and hurt over and over, and especially when they passed on, it makes you run back to drugs because you down yourself. You don't think it even causes where you come to a suicidal state where you just feel like you're really a piece of shit that you just
right. There's no way back from this.
Yeah,
right.
And you got to find that void, I guess, or you got to find that, and that give back did it for me. It put me at peace when I helped somebody and stuff like that, and started doing all these things, the steps, and in my church, and it just.
So how was your faith from those 27 years that you were incarcerated? How was your faith? Have you always been strong with your faith?
Oh, no. Yeah. When I was young, I was raised, like I said, but I was young. I started first going to, I was going to church since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I barely remember, but I always went. My mom and dad always take me. Then I went to, like I said, the private school, City Christian Academy and Love of God Academy, all the way up to my junior high before I quit school, because of drugs. But yeah, my faith was good back then, but as soon as I got strung out on drugs, the devil
idolized the drugs versus our higher powers.
Yep.
So how is your relationship today with your higher power?
Oh,
how has it changed since
it's changed. He's my rock. With the people that he doesn't, God put all these people in my life, and Pastor Brent, from the place,
great person.
He's an amazing person. He really tries to help us people out here at First Step. He tries to help.
He does.
And I need that in my life. My spiritual deal. I meditate every morning. I pass out scripture to all my friends here and give my point of view on it every morning to about 15 people. And I changed everything, even my music that I listen to. It's spiritual based, and a lot of it's recovering addicts that's singing these songs, and it's all spiritual based, and it's just changed my life. That's my biggest thing right there. It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say, but
no, that's all right. So what would you tell someone who is struggling out there still, who, let's say, put yourself back in those years where you were just in and out, and of prison and relapsing? Like, what would you tell someone who is in that state right now?
Surrender. And it's hard. And give yourself a chance, because that's one of the hardest things to do, is give yourself a chance and surrender. Find somebody that you're comfortable with, that you really trust, that's not an addict or is a recovered addict, and just open up, surrender, talk, pray to God, surrender, most of all, surrender to Him, and be humble. That's what it took for me. I had to finally surrender it all because it was that or death,
Right. And it is for a lot of us, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you this. So personally, in a recovery program, you build a bag of tools,
Mm-hmm.
and you build your 12-step ladder with this.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the tools that keep you sober today?
My support group is my biggest, first God, and then my support group, which is other addicts in my church. That's my biggest deal, and plus my sponsor, and my mentors. I got mentors. I got a lot of people.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, we out of lunch.
They're out there because we were doing a little podcast thing. They're out there. Yeah. You're good. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
We can cut it out. Alrighty. And what blessing? What? I don't know. Devin has them out there somewhere. Alrighty. What have you learned about yourself recently? Now sober and graduated drug court. What are your hopes and dreams?
My hopes and dreams, because now, I'm 53. I'm 56 now, but I found a purpose in life, and it took me 50 something years and to find my purpose, and I'm still making goals. And my main goal, as I've been talking about it, I want to get myself in this kind of field to help others, in recovery. And to do that, I need to get educated. And I was planning, my next goal is get my PRSS degree. And
I think you'll do great in this field.
And this is my purpose. And I can't explain that, but this is what makes me happy. And this is what I want to do. If I can help somebody, because my spiritual belief is, that's what we're put on this earth for, and I don't want to sit here and die and face God and saying, look at me, what have you done? No, never helped nobody, never done this, never done that,
And giving back does help a lot in
Yeah.
our field. It's a part of that service work.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, any final thoughts for a final message for somebody who is still struggling or suffering from addiction out there?
Yeah, I got a request. If you ain't got nobody, please hit your knees, surrender to God, find a sober living, or go to a meeting, AA meeting, NA meeting, and just to listen. Just listen. And hopefully you can find something. If you really want change, you can find it. There's all kinds of places out there. There's all kinds of NA groups. There's all kinds of AA groups. And, but
Community's a must, and there is a large, vast community out there for recovery. You're
Yes,
very
sir.
right. All right, Andrew. Well, I really appreciate you sharing today. If you're still struggling tonight, keep coming back. Recovery works if you work it, and you never have to do this alone. And thank you.